Next, he continues his thought in verse 8. He says, bear fruit in keeping with repentance. If you remember the last time we looked at this story, it took a good chunk of time to establish what genuine biblical repentance looks like. This is what John is talking about here. He's saying that if you're truly repentant, if you're truly a follower of God, you will bear fruit. It's a natural byproduct of being a Christian. Keeping with repentance bears fruit. Why? Because it produces godly living. This idea is reinforced over and over again in the Bible. The Apostle James, he famously talks about this. Here's what he says in James chapter 2. He says, what good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith, but does not have works? Can that faith save him? In other words, is a faith that has no fruit real faith? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warmed and filled, without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? Here he's using an example of faith being applied in life with the example of a Christian not helping another Christian with food and clothing. It's like he's saying, you say that you believe what Jesus taught about providing for those in need, and yet you don't do anything he taught you. So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. The true sign of belonging to God is evidence of a changed life. And here's the thing, we're not off the hook. His words were not only for the religious elite of his day, this is a lesson for us all. James's point is that our claims to be followers of Christ will not be seen in our words, they will be seen in our actions, how we live. Because your repentance must be genuine. So ask yourself, are you truly turning from sin? Is your life producing fruit? John makes it clear that repentance, it's not just a one-time emotional decision, it's a lifestyle change. Are you merely going through the motions, or is your faith producing real visible fruit? John's telling them, okay, you want to be baptized, right? Prove to me that you've turned from your hypocritical lifestyle, and then I'll baptize you. He wants to make sure that they're here for the right reasons, not just to protect themselves. He continues in verse 9, he says, and do not presume to say to yourselves, we have Abraham as our father. For I tell you, God is able from these stones to raise up children from Abraham. John tells the Pharisees and Sadducees to not make a presumption about their heritage. And while we could peg this on the Pharisees and Sadducees, the reality was that a lot of Jews at this time believed this. They believed that simply by being descendants of Abraham, they were in right standing with God. And John calls this out. Of course, this isn't true. If God really wanted to, he could turn these rocks into kids right now. So you see, this is where we have more in common with the Pharisees than I think most of us would care to admit. So I want to give you a warning. Don't rely on church activity. What do being raised in church, community service, being active in a small group, being at every church event under the sun, all have in common? None of those things make you a Christian. Those things are good. They can be evidence of saving faith, but they in themselves will not save you. Going to church all your life or claiming the faith of your parents is not going to cut it. Don't put your faith or your trust in your church attendance, your role in ministry, or your family legacy for assurance of salvation. Oftentimes, we can let our involvement in church blind us to areas in our relationship with God where we're seriously deficient. And John's correction still applies today. Yeah, you volunteer, but how's your personal relationship with God? Do you spend alone time with Him? What you need to be asking yourself is, are you living the Christian life for Him, or are you living in vain? Are you doing Christian things for Jesus, or are you doing them to validate yourself? Because we're really good at deceiving ourselves. We're really good at tricking our minds into thinking that we're more spiritually mature than we actually are. Remember, bearing fruit is evidence of saving faith, but it is not what saves you.